I am your host of Across Generations, Tiffany D. Cross, and this is the only place where you will hear 3 different perspectives from 3 distinct generations of Black women, and I'm so thrilled to invite you to this conversation. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Across Generations, and I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. We're talking about gender roles. Now, for me, despite being raised by a single mother, I have to say the idea of gender roles came to me really from my grandmother. I personally had a very young, hot mama who was not exactly the greet you in the kitchen in an apron type. She was working and juggling our struggle, and she was an amazing mother. But my grandparents were really the traditional Black family unit. My grandmother had my grandfather's dinner on the table when he got home. And so in many ways, I sometimes kind of believe in the patriarchy. Now, obviously not the patriarchy of systemic oppression, obviously, but I definitely practice the ideology of there are things that men do and there are things that women do. That's for me personally. I'm not mowing the lawn. I'm not pumping gas. I'm not taking out the trash. Those are things I just don't want to do. Now, does that mean I'm helpless and unable to do those things? Obviously not. I do them all the time. But if I'm in partnership with someone, there are things that I expect, just as there are things that he expects from me. And I don't think there's really any right or wrong way to do this. So this is not a judgment to anyone who has a different perspective. And this is not a rallying call or a decry of feminism. This is simply my view and my practice. And any man who wants to enjoy my company or is in my presence will likely need to know his role, just as I know mine. Now, when we get into income disparity and children and all of that, it's a more nuanced conversation. And we're going to get into some of that right now. So let's get it started. I'm very, very excited to welcome Carla Hall, who's turning 60 this year. She's a professional chef. You guys know her. She's from the DMV, my neck of the woods. And she has been married for 18 years. I should be so lucky one day. And decided to be the breadwinner in her marriage to support her husband's dream of becoming a yoga and meditation instructor. Now, he was previously an attorney, and this was his new passion. And on the other side, we have Kim. She's 26 years old. She's from Houston, now residing in New York City. And she's the host of the Rich Little Broke Girl podcast and collective, and she's currently single and dating, and she's interested in traditional relationship with a twist. So we don't quite know what that means, but let's kick it off. Carla, I want to start with you, and I think we have to define this first. So the definition of gender roles, the Webster definition, it's the role or behavior considered to be appropriate to a particular gender as determined by prevailing cultural norms. Now, I want to define patriarchy. That's a system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is reckoned through the male line. This is Webster definitions. The matriarch is a social system in which positions, dominance, and authority are primarily held by women. In a broader sense, it can also extend to moral authority, social privilege, and control of property. While those definitions can apply in general English, definitions specific to anthropology and feminism differ in some respects. So, because we're starting there, I'm curious, do you define either of those differently?
You know, I consider myself the culinary matriarch of my family because I'm the one who cooks. And I'm the one who passes down these recipes for my family. When you talked about the gender roles in terms of being able or, I feel that I'm able to do and want to do things that people would consider a man would do in my household. And I believe that you should do the thing that fills your heart. And sometimes that's not what that's not the role that you would think that a man would play or a female would play. So I am flexible. I'm a flexitarian when it comes to food. Yeah. And apparently I'm a flexitarian when it comes to patriarchy and I think these gender roles. I'm absolutely flexible because of how I grew up.
Right. I can understand that. Yeah. I think it's interesting, though, that you are our more seasoned panelists and you're flexible, while our younger Gen Z panelists here, I don't know that you're as flexible, Kim. So do you disagree with those definitions, and what category would you put yourself in?
I align with those definitions for sure. And I think because I align with, and I understand that we live in a patriarchal society, I'm pretty unwavering at this stage in my life. I'm 26 to, I'm pretty unwavering on my position of being traditional with a twist, right? Kind of like a soft girl with sense. I can take care of me, but if I'm going to be in a partnership at this stage of my life, then I need you to be able to protect and provide as well. And so I feel like given the fact that, power is funneled to men, quite literally, I don't think there's anything wrong or there's much, I don't really understand the controversy around women expecting those same men to be doing better than them, right? And so when I look at dating and I think about, a partnership, what would I want now? I'm 26, I'm probably dating someone that's 36, 34. I do expect you to be doing better than me. And I do expect if we're going to be in a partnership and I'm going to shift my focus to a relationship, that you are able to provide.
What does that mean, able to provide? Provide what exactly?
Provide in terms of financially, provide in terms of just taking care of me so that I can still achieve the things that I want in my life. As I'm building my foundation now, if I'm going to give my focus to a relationship, then I also want that relationship to aid in me building this foundation.
I have a lot of thoughts and questions about that, but let me just first jump in and say, I do expect men, for me personally, I expect men to do certain things. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with someone being the sole provider for me. And I think a part of that reason is, Carla, because I've been the sole provider for myself for so long. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I have the trust to hand over my life and livelihood to another person at this point. Partnership to me, at this point in my life, when I'm not having children and, we're probably combining balance sheets and that's about it. Partnership in my life is how can I live in service to this relationship and how can he live in service to this relationship? And that takes on different forms. I'm curious what you feel about Kim's thoughts.
It's really interesting because I think back to college. I mean, for me, I grew up in a family with all women. My mother was a single mother. They were divorced when I was 7. My grandmother had 2 daughters. Her 2 daughters had 2 daughters. I saw women do everything in my life. So I was watching the man come in to fix things for my mother. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch it. Why would we pay him again? I can fix it. So that's where I come from. Even in college, I would not allow somebody to pay for my meal if I went out to eat, because for me, in my head, you're taking my power away. So I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you a kiss. I don't owe you anything past a kiss. I owe you nothing. So for me, it's always been my power, to hold my power. And I think because of the way I grew up, that's why I feel that way. Now, when it came to in my marriage, the whole money money thing is real. Because I didn't get married until I was 44. So my money was my money. And so it took me 5 years to sort of come into the thing. It's our money, because I was so used to providing for myself.
The concept of our money. Kim, so in a financial partnership, what are your thoughts?
So I think it's evident historically that you cannot rely on a man. And so personally, when I say traditional with the twist, I'm not going to ever put myself in a position where, I have to completely rely on a man. I sign a bad prenup and I have to beg a man to buy me a piece of bread. I'm just not going to do that. And so I feel like, my money is my money so that I can invest in building myself, right? As I'm now in this relationship and I'm aging, right? And your money is to provide for the unit. And so if that looks like taking care of the bills, because if I'm having children, I'm not working. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm taking care of the house. And so I don't think that's asking for much. I think that's asking for a...
But you're saying in a marriage, let's say.
Yes.
You're saying the money you earn is your money.
Yes.
The money
for
he
a rainy
earns
day.
is our money.
For the household, yes.
But... so to me, that doesn't say partnership, though. Like, what
it is partnership because...
Explain it to me.
Because, when you're in a marriage, right, especially if you are having children with someone, I'm giving my life, my womb. I'm giving my time, my focus, my earning potential. And so he is able to go out in the job market, the workforce, continue to excel. And now I'm taking years off to watch the children, right? And so I need to make sure that I'm protecting myself if things go awry, right?
But what you're saying, Kim, to me, what it sounds like is I am planning on this not working out. When if you're living in service to a partnership, that money is I am earning this money to build us collectively. It sounds to me like you're saying, I am earning this money for me because you've given me children and you're going to provide stability. And then the second I get tired of this, at least I have some money in my pocket to walk away from it.
No, I don't see it like that. I see it more so like I am protecting myself because I understand that 50% of marriages end in divorce. Not that anyone goes into...
Do 50% of marriages end in divorce because of attitudes like that?
Yeah, because you're wanting a guarantee. I think you're going and wanting a guarantee. And I truly believe that once you think it and you have that mindset, it will happen.
Okay.
Yeah, it will happen because you're already setting yourself up to kind of have the fail safe because you want a guarantee and you want to protect yourself. You go in, but is a prenup protecting yourself? You know, when you think about that. So
that's true.
I mean, it depends on what terms that you're putting in. Yeah,
exactly.
But I also think that, especially because I'm coming from the Gen Z perspective, right? And so we've seen the silent generation, right? Our grandmothers, our grandfathers had their cake and they got to eat it too. So I make all the money. You take care of the kids. I can do whatever I want. You take care of the household. I can beat on you. I can cheat on you. And you're not going to go anywhere. Then we have our mothers, the baby boomers, right? Overcorrect. I'm an independent. I can earn my own living. And then at the same time, they still have their husbands. They have their cake. They eat it too. Great. You go to work. And when you're done with work, you come home. You take care of the kids. You cook, you clean, and you take care of me. And so now it's Gen Z and we're trying to protect ourselves, right? Mitigate the risk of, well, I need to be independent and provide for myself, but I also want to have a partner that can provide for the household and for us. And that's, I suppose, where we're at.
Your house is different.
My house is different because I make the most money. However, when I'm thinking about providing, I don't think that it is just money. I don't think that it is. So even though I may be bringing home more cash, my husband, even before we started, oh Lord, hey honey, before we started, separating, he was still working at the FDA. I mean, he would cook, clean, he'd do the laundry, and people were like, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "Thank you." I mean, that's what I did. Yeah. I was grateful and I saw it. I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm not doing it. Because if I'm cooking at the office, I don't want to cook at home. People assume that I am cooking just because I cook for my living, that I am cooking at home. I had no interest in actually cooking at home. Now, when I look at our lives now, providing means being a moral support for me. It means it is that sense of protection. It is sort of being a sounding board for me. It is still looking at our finances, and I mean, even though I have a team, but he provides in different ways other than just cash and money and bank accounts.
But was the inverse ever true? Was he ever the one who was making the money?
Yes. Yeah. So when I was working on the Chew, when we first got together, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So all of my money goes back into the business, like everything. And so I didn't get married until I was 44, and I was used to just putting this money back in. And when I tell you, when we got married, I was still borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. We needed his salary. He was working while I was able to basically carve out my path. And it only changed. I did 7 seasons of the Chew. It only changed the last season of the Chew because my money was spent living here in New York, going back and forth, maintaining my businesses that were in DC. And when we got that last contract and they opened up my contract and I started making more money, I turned to him. I said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" Yeah, because he had already supported me doing what I wanted to do. Now it's like, let me look at you and say, what do you want to do? We ended up, and leading up to that, saving his salary for a year so that he would feel comfortable, just going out and doing the things. And he never looked back.
Wow. And you guys are happy.
And we're happy.
Would you be open to that, Kim?
You're turning 60 this year?
Yes.
When I turn 60, I have no clue where I will be in life.
Exactly.
I think at 26, though, I am allowed to ask for these things, right? You had a partner that was able to pour into you, and in the inverse, down the line, you are now able to pour into your partner. I'm still at the foundational point of my life. And so it's very, very important for me. If I am going to consider a partnership, I have to make sure that I am set up for success.
But how do men respond when you say this to men? Like, are when you go out on dates, does this conversation come up? And what is that conversation like?
Yeah, it does. It does come up. I'm Nigerian, and so I typically will date Nigerian men, and they get it.
Yeah,
they get it, girl.
Understand what time it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all you have to say.
Yes.
That's all you have to say. A Nigerian man wants to provide for you. I mean, that's in their matriarchal, their patriarchal system.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
However, because I don't just date within my race, right?
Okay.
So I'm not just dating. No, I don't. I've dated all around the world from all the different continents.
Do you notice that different men respond differently?
Yes. And so I have tended to Jewish, Nigerian, West African, African in general, Middle Eastern men, they understand as well. Now, when we talk about American men, that is when you have to start defining things. And this is what I want, and this is why I want it. And you have to explain yourself, over-explain yourself, because they just don't get it, Yeah. So I date for my audience.
So the other thing that I want to ask you're 26 and you also realize that you need someone who is older and more established.
Yes.
So you have a type, but that type is basically what that person has, not who he is.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. I think if we're talking about gender roles, then yes, my type is a protector and a provider. But in terms of who he is, I'm not going to just accept a man because he can protect and provide, because that same man can take advantage of you. That same man can leave you with absolutely nothing. That same man cannot pour into you, right? That same man can make you work for every single dollar that he is using to support you.
Yes.
And so I think there's a lot of qualities that I have on my checklist that go beyond finances and if you can put a roof over my head and support me when I have our children. So it's more than that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole conversation around gender roles has changed significantly because, like we said, we're women, we're working, we're building careers. You went to GW,
Yes.
college in DC. You weren't trying to get your MRS degree. Like we're getting an education to build a career. I think for me, honestly, it would be really hard for me to abandon my career at this point to live in service to an individual. I could live in service to the relationship, but an individual is different. And so when I hear you say, when you're talking about, like a protector and a provider, I have a hard time accepting that someone else is providing. And I'll tell you what the new currency is when you get older. Can you love me back? Can you wipe my ass when I'm no longer capable? Do you love me enough to hold my hand in sickness and in health? When I have to lose my mother, are you the person who's going to be there to hold my hand? All of those things matter significantly more to me than someone's ability to provide. But I don't know, Cap, because I think providing is important as well. And if someone who can't provide, like I am not, I think your situation is different because, your husband took care of you first. But I know, at this point, I couldn't date somebody who was not in a position to not take care of himself. Can we come on equal footing?
Okay, so in saying that, does he need to make more money than you, or he really has to just be able to take care? Like, let's say if he was, I don't know, a bricklayer, and he's providing for himself. He has, he has a career, he is established, but he doesn't make as much money as you do.
Yeah.
could you be with that person?
Yeah, absolutely. I would never determine who I dated based on what they do for a living. I think that is elitist, it's classism, it's rooted in white supremacy, and I don't ever want to be a part of that. But I do think there is something to be said for are we compatible intellectually? Do you have intellectual curiosity? Are you desiring to take care of me? And there's a lot of ways, I will tell you, Kim, there's a lot of ways a man can take care of you that have nothing to do with finances. And, if you fall in love with somebody who has a different idea, I think it does get complicated if you fall in love with someone who has a different idea of what partnership looks like. But for me personally, I'm not asking for your resume before we go out on a date. But I would like to know, are you somebody who values me as an individual?
And when people ask me, what's the best thing about being married or the place where you want to get? And I say, the best part is going to the bathroom with the door open. That's the best part because they see you when you stink. There is no...
So both. We're saying when you do number one or drop a deuce, we're leaving the door open?
Yeah, the door is open. So
that might be where we differ, Carla, because I'm closing the door on number two. I want some mystery between me and my man, for sure.
But I'm just saying, it's
a level of vulnerability.
It's a level of vulnerability, and also you've seen me at my basic. It can be good or bad.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to you were saying about your mom. If someone passes away, when he has to wipe your butt. I mean, is he going to start wiping your butt when he's never seen you go do a number two?
Yeah, that's fair. I
mean, when does that start? When do you build that?
As late as possible.
Okay, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's the part where I want to know early on, that if I can be completely take my guard down and be vulnerable and show you my stinkiest bits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you will be the person for me. If I have to be all done up in this and, out as well as at home, it's not going to work.
See me at my worst and my most vulnerable and still see me as beautiful in those moments.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's important. I'm curious because as a 20-something and as you've laid out what you desire, what is it that you would say to him? And this is what I'm bringing to the table.
I love that question because I bring a lot to the table. While I may not cook and clean.
You don't cook or clean?
As in,
this is new information.
I'm not a chef. I'm not an award-winning housekeeper. I can manage to get those things done, right? I can take care of it. Like when you come home, there will be food on the table and the house will be spotless. Did I physically do those things? No, I did not. However, I believe in outsourcing the work that you're just not good at.
Are you working? I guess I'm asking, are you you didn't do it because I was working all day?
I didn't do it.
Or are you saying I'm home, I'm not home, working, but someone else is paid to do these things for us?
Depending on, what the situation is. If I have children, then I am focused on that and I have someone that is helping us with those things. And so when we talk about what do you bring to the table, oftentimes when we speak to women, it's like, do you cook, do you clean, or do you work?
Right.
Failing to realize that I bring so much value, in the form of my education, my network, my ability to network, my mind, my optimism, my organizational skills, my management skills.
But that's what you bring to the table, I think, in a professional capacity. I guess I'm saying in a relationship, but those things are not as important because you said you want a man who provides. So I'm assuming this man knows how, and he's older than you. So he's not looking to you for your network. He's built his network. He's not looking to you to tell him how to run a business. He's running a business. So he's not looking to you for your education. He has an education. This is the kind of man you're describing.
Yes.
So what specifically are you bringing to the table in terms of living in service to your relationship?
Yes, but all of those things contribute to a relationship. It takes more than cooking and cleaning to build a life, to raise children, and to support the success of your partner, right? And so being able to be this supporting role to the main character who would be this partner, right? That is going out every day to fend and to, accumulate resources and things of that nature. It doesn't just require cooking and cleaning.
You want to be a project manager in your house.
The CEO of the household. I can do that.
Well, I think there may be a man out there looking for a project manager. I'd be curious. We're gonna keep in touch because I want to know how this
how
life
pans out.
Yeah, how this life pans out for you. And look, maybe you onto something that I'm not. Personally, I think managing my own life. Sometimes I do think. I think I need a wife. Sometimes, I need help. And I do take your point about there's more to our value than cooking and cleaning. I take major issue when I was younger, men, you say, when you gonna cook for me? People don't really do that now. So
yes,
I take
they
your
do.
point. Well, I say people, when I say people don't do that now, I mean men who I encounter, they know better. We're a little more seasoned, we know better.
They don't ask say it. I think men don't say it, but I definitely think they're thinking about it.
You think?
I think they learn what not to say. If you say that to me, they know that they're going to get side eye, stink eye, all the eyes.
Yeah.
But I really still think that men harbor some ideas of a woman and what they want. And that's why, I applaud you for actually saying these things out loud, even though I'm like this. But it takes some guts. Also, I want to go back. I wanted to say really quickly, because you're Nigerian and because of how the economy works, let's say in West Africa, Nigeria, you have people to come in and cook and clean because it's part of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have somebody come in to help you because you are going to give back to that person who needs help. So those are the people you're going to. But did you grow up there?
No, I didn't. I
You were
grew up
born
in
here?
the States. Yes.
Yeah.
But I grew up culturally in a Nigerian household,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So growing up, we had someone that would come in and help clean. We had people that would, deliver food to us. We had, as we were coming up being young children, we had people that would help my mom take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm not opposed to any of that.
Yeah.
I also am, again, traditional with a twist. I have my own and I want to be able to build for myself. And so in order to do those things, I do need the time to focus on what I want to achieve out of this life beyond merely being a mother and being a wife, right? And so I think having that help gives you that time to kind of figure out what do I want to do? Yeah.
I think that the cultural difference is key there. Carla, I'm curious, does your husband make any money? Does he contribute to the household? Does he pay for things?
He does. He pays for, well, actually, he pays for his stuff. Wait, hold up. So basically, Kim, he is you in my relationship. His money is his money. He is paying for his stuff and his business. And yes.
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay. I am okay with it because I know that he's also the man who did it for me.
Yes, that's key.
That's
the difference.
I can honestly pinpoint when he supported me.
Yeah.
So this isn't kind of like, is he going to do that for me? He did it.
Yeah.
And so when I tell you the education piece is important because I get to run ideas and things with him, and he has a very good mind to organize and he's on a lot of advisory committees and boards. And I'm like, you're perfect for that because of how he thinks. He is incredibly smart. And so when you say you want somebody intellectually,
stimulating,
compatible and curious, he is that person. I can call him and I'm like, look, Matthew, I left something out. I need you to ship this to me. It gets shipped. I got to come home. I need you to go to the grocery store. It gets got. It gets bought.
Yeah.
So he supports me, and he also supports me when I need someone to talk to about all the things that I've been going through as I am talking to him about building his business. So the way that I look at his business is that it is growing, and I'm going to pour into him what he poured into me in giving him ideas about his business.
Yeah. There was a conversation not too long ago about splitting bills 50-50. And look, I say, whatever work in your marriage is hard enough, more power to you. I would have an issue if my husband made significantly more than me and he wanted to split 50-50. That's just ridiculous. Right? That's not partnership to me.
It is not partnership. Right. I just had this conversation with a couple that I know very well, and He is like, you have to work because you need to contribute to the household. But yet he wants her to make all the meals and do all these things. And I'm like, girl, you need your own money. Never do that.
Yeah.
Do not, because she's going to need her own money because that independence and not give her power away.
Yeah.
Because he wants all these things and his job travels. Every time his job travels, she has to quit her job and go find another one somewhere else.
Right. Yeah.
What you're giving to the relationship is that you quit your job and you're moving.
Yeah.
That's your wealth.
Yeah.
That is you providing to that husband.
Yeah.
That is what you're pouring in. So those traditional models don't fit when you're constantly moving and you want someone to work.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think when you think about that, if you are making more money in your career, I don't think a lot of men consider it ain't no $10,000 difference. Like if I'm the breadwinner and it's like, yeah, my job requires me, we living in Michigan and my job requires me to live in New York City. That means you quit your little job and like you got to pick up and pack up and come move to New York City. I think a lot of men might have a challenge with that. Like they like the concept and the idea of this, like Claire Huxtable meets Michelle Obama. But it's when you are really a partner to that person, can you play a supporting role the way that we have for so many years? And I don't know that, honestly, a lot of men feel comfortable with that. I think, the attitudes towards that are changing. I assume, Kim, that you would not be okay splitting.
At this point in my life, I am not going 50-50 with anybody.
What if you guys make the same amount of money? Because you have to work and you're dating people. No one is obligated to take care of you through that process.
No.
Like you're just dating. And so if you meet someone and you guys have the same income level, you live in New York, you can't afford to live by yourself and with somebody else. And so it's like, yes, let's move in, and the rent is too damn high, as we know, in New York. And it requires a second income.
Yes.
Are you willing to walk away from love because this person can't provide the life that you want?
So I think that's where the patriarchy comes into play, right? We live in a patriarchal society that funnels power to men.
Yeah.
So if you cannot manage to do better than me, then it just doesn't really add up to me. And so especially looking at the men that I'm dating, if I am 26, I'm dating a man that's about 36. You have 10 years on me. Why are we earning the same amount of money? It doesn't add up for me. And so, no, I'm not going 50-50 with him. I can support myself, and I am not in a position in my life where I can start supporting someone else.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had this visual of you getting a Chanel bag. You're like, babe, this is my bag with my money, and he's struggling to pay the rent. Honestly, Kim. Right?
Yeah.
Wait, no, I wouldn't. First of all, I am a realist. And if he can't afford to buy me nice things, then he can't afford to buy me nice things. If he cannot afford to buy me the things that I can afford to buy me, then it doesn't align.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't align.
I guess what I'm hearing though, Kim, and this is kind of something that concerns me across, because I think there's something beautiful about when we come together and love each other.
Yes.
And I hear a lot of financial implications and not a lot of, because I said I want to live in service to the relationship, not in service to him, not in service to his household, but in service to the love that we have for each other. Therefore, it is my pleasure to make you happy. It is my pleasure to do what is provided. It's my pleasure if you want to quit being a lawyer and go be a yoga instructor. It is the delight of my heart to be able to provide that for you. And I don't hear that from you. It seems to me like the relationship is all, how does this service me and what I want? I think you will find somebody like that if that's what you want, for sure. But I just wonder if you've considered that part, that the whole construct of the relationship is living in service specifically to your needs and your desires. And you have invented this person who you say, well, this is the only way I can serve, and this is how I will serve. And if you don't fall into that category at 26 years old, you're saying this, then it is not in alignment in my life. Are you prepared to make that declaration being so early, and maybe you haven't felt love in a deep way that shook you to your core, that you might have a different perspective?
I think that at least when speaking about, 50-50, I think about finances, right? However, there is a lot that I am willing to contribute to a relationship beyond like, whether I'm earning income and things like that. Especially when it comes to, when I think about marriage, I think about having a family and having children. And that takes care, and that takes emotional support, and that takes stepping away from my dreams. That takes stepping away from my focus on bettering myself. It takes selflessness. And so, I don't want to get too caught up on, well, he's just giving me money. Absolutely not. It's not just that. It's you're providing, and you're allowing me to raise our family and our kids and to build a life so that you can go out in your day and tackle the day, and you don't have to worry about what's going on at the house. When you come home, everything is good. The kids are well adjusted, like everything is handled. And so it's more than finances. It's emotional support. It is a partnership. It's you are working and I am working in a different capacity.
You know what I love about what you're saying, Kim, is that at the heart of what I hear you're saying is you're placing value on those things, which I think sometimes society has overlooked, and it's almost like going into a business and you're like, look, I'm providing the sweat equity. You have the money, you have the investment, I'm giving you the sweat equity. And your sweat equity, from what I hear you saying, is all the things that you're pouring into, like the family and this, da, 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 da. And I get that. It's just building. So as you are finding yourself in relationships, it took me a while to find myself in relationships. And the same way that I would ask for one thing starting out in a job versus having the experience, by starting at your top level, you may not get there because you have to work up just emotionally. You have to become the person that person wants.
Exactly.
So in becoming that person, those first relationships, they may not have those things that you want. So that's what I'm saying.
I hear you. 1,000%.
And your husband is a Black man?
Yes.
Black American man?
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and just talk about this kind of role of feminism, because what you're saying, that's why I'm struggling with some of what you're saying, because it's like you are making legitimate points about my value should not be how many meals I'm cooking you a day and how well I clean a house. I fully support that. I think there are very nuanced differences for me in how I define feminism. And a lot of that, I think, is how this American society has defined feminism through the lens of a white woman. Some people grew up and they saw Gloria Steinem as the face of feminism, while Shirley Chisholm was completely erased from that, feminism storyline and history. And so I think feminism has taken on a different perspective today. And like, how do we define feminism now? Because some people say, no, feminism was all about like going out there and getting in the workforce, and I think feminism is about choice. It's like what you want to do. If you want to work and build a career, that is feminism.
I agree.
But some men have, tried to define, and I even see women buying into this with these like YouTube videos on how to be a high value woman. And, like our entire identity is on how we're valued by men. How do you define feminism, Carla?
I think for me, it is my choices. It's having the power to make the choices that I want to make, not thinking about other people.
Movie Barbie. Everybody's talking about the movie Barbie.
I saw Barbie. Now I am menopausal, so my whole life is a scavenger hunt. So I don't remember the movie, but but it is. But I also am a woman with a lot of male energy. I will own that. So I'm also in a field with a lot of men.
What does that mean, male energy?
I have. I'm not a frilly girl. I'm a maker. I like to do things with my hands. I'm a take charge kind of person. I come into a moment. I'm not a wilting flower. And I will walk into a room and assess a situation, and I'm like, okay, they need a leader. I will be that leader. I mean, and typically that's male energy. And it is not necessarily men. And also in working in food, there's also these conversations about male chefs versus female chefs, and they want female chefs in the kitchen. And but I think it's male energy versus female energy. I mean, I know men who have a lot of female energy in their food, and you eat their food, and you're like, oh my gosh, I know this man loves his mama. You know, and I just love it. And then you can taste the love, right? And then I think female energy is very nurturing. Male energy tends to be egoic, and not that I'm egoic, but when you have a plate of food that is all about the way that it's presented, and it's about the look versus the taste and nurturing, that's male energy versus female energy on a plate. I think I cook with female energy. I think that I move through the world with a little bit in my business with male energy.
You know, I when you said that, I'm thinking about that. Do I have male energy? I think I have perhaps some male energy in the sense of it depends on the man. I will quote the amazing Jill Scott. And she says, if you can tell me what to do, you can tell me what to do. If you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do. Okay. So if you want me to have some feminine energy, come to me with your male energy. You know, like I can't be the realist at the table. It's only one woman in the relationship. You know, it's only...
that's my husband's a woman, and this is his relationship.
But that is in traditionally defined roles. Yeah. I think, you know, with younger generations, like you're a traditionalist, but there are some younger people who, you know, feel differently. Like I honestly thought these roles would be reversed. I thought that, you know, our seasoned panelists would be the traditionalist, our younger person would be, no, I have no such ideas about, that's all old fashioned, you know? So I think, you know, you both are maybe anomalies in that sense, or maybe there's just more people who feel that way who I don't know. But I think in terms of men desiring this, it's like, if you want to be my king, you better be ready to wear that crown, because that comes with a lot of responsibility. And I for me, I'm like you, if there is no leader, then I'm going to be the leader. It's only one of these in the relationship, and I got that covered, you know? So if you want to come and have yours swinging through, then swing it through, you know? Because if not, we gonna pull it out on the table. And if mine is bigger, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's not a good dynamic in a relationship.
Well, it's not a good dynamic if you don't understand the people. My husband is very nurturing, very...
Can't that be male energy though? Like, why can't that be considered?
But he has male and female energy. In certain instances, he's a Cancer. He's a touchy-feely king.
Yes.
I'm a Taurus. I'm a bull.
I'm an Aquarius. I don't know what that means.
But I feel, but it works in our relationship. There's a balance. There's an ebb and flow in our relationship. And so it is not based on the roles that other people say. You have to find your own roles in your own relationship, I think. After this conversation, I mean, that's what I'm going to walk away with. There is nothing that is typical about anyone's roles, gender, I think, with feminism. And I think feminism, I want choice. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think that's key. Feminism I agree with that. Is choice.
Yeah, it's a woman's right to choose.
Yeah.
You can choose anything. Yeah. All the options we can choose, because men have had the right to make their decisions for ages. And so now it's our time.
Yeah, I agree with that. What if you never meet anybody, Kim? What if you go through life, you have this idea about how you want a family to look? I wish for you to find love. So I don't want to project that on your life, but let's just say there are a lot of wonderful, beautiful women like yourself who, you know, decades go by and maybe they never find anybody for whatever reason. Would you be okay by yourself and providing for yourself?
Absolutely.
Obviously, you're a capable young woman, and for that part, I mean, emotionally, spiritually.
Absolutely. If I, God forbid, never met anyone, you know, again, I'm still at my foundational period of my life. And this is why I'm so selfish about pouring into myself and building something for myself, because I want to know at the end of the day, I have me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you could find someone and lose them. That is just the reality. You know, I could have a beautiful family with someone and then, you know, the man is no longer in the picture. So then who takes care of the kids?
Mm-hmm.
And so I always want to make sure that for me, I'm in a position, I know that I want to be a mother, that I can be a mother regardless if there is a man in the picture or not. And so I would be absolutely fine.
Okay. Well, I believe that about you. Carla, I would like to ask you before we close the show, you've heard my thoughts. You've heard Kim's thoughts. Let's start with Kim. What advice would you offer Kim as she ventures out into this world of finding a life partner as it relates to gender roles?
I think you're on your way, but I think the main thing is to become the person you want to meet. You have to see yourself. You have to be the person to see yourself. So become the person you want to meet. Yeah.
And you will meet yourself in a relationship. It's nothing like a man. They will reflect back to you who you are.
Yeah.
And what is your advice for yours truly?
I think intuitively, you know what came to me?
What?
I didn't. It's let go of the reins. Because I think that you are a strong woman. I think that you will find the person. You will never settle, but there's a part of you that has to let go of something, you know. But you can have it all. You can do all the things. I don't know if they're going to be more than what you are. Are you okay with that?
What does it mean that not to be
I
more
mean,
than
I
one?
don't think that, what do I mean? And you've already said that you don't care if they make less, they just have to have their own thing.
Yeah,
So no,
they can't be broke.
They can't be broke.
Yeah, not at
I mean,
this age. We're
but also
middle-aged.
a broke man is not gonna, you're never gonna take care of a man, which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I think it's just about being open to what that person is, and to, you know,
Yeah.
because I think what it takes in relationships is flexibility. It took me 5 years to become a we. So that is my dynamic. So the longer you are single, the longer it takes to become a we. I was a me in my relationship for 5 years. I literally could walk away at any moment. It took me 5 years to become a we, and I think that knowing that to become a we is a process. Yeah.
That I receive.
Yeah.
To become a we is a process that I receive. And I love how you pause because I didn't want to interrupt you. Let them use you. You know, give me all the message. I think that's amazing. I thank you both for the conversation. My takeaway, because I think you said some things too, Kim. I disagree with some of your perspectives, but it's your life and it's not for me to disagree. I just have a different perspective. But hearing you both, I think the takeaway I hope that our audience and our viewers gets is, and what I would offer is, love is key, and living in service to a relationship looks however you want it to look and however you want to define it. I would love to see us have more love in the community. We hear so many things about Black women being unlovable, unmarriable, undesirable. And, you know, Carla has found love and is in a marriage that takes on different roles. Kim is looking for something, a traditionalist with a twist. And I am open to however love comes to me. And the one thing that I've discovered in life as I've gotten older and still have a journey ahead of me is that the true currency is someone to love you back.
Yes.
And, you know, time moves a lot faster when you get older. And so when you're confronted with your own mortality, you're losing parents, you're losing friends, spouses get cancer and illness and, you know, all those things. All of these frilly things we're discussing about gender roles just seem to fall to the wayside. And you look for somebody to go on this journey with you. And that's the most important thing. So I wish love for everybody out there watching. And I definitely want to thank Carla Hall, the amazing Carla Hall, for being here. And Kim, I thank you for being so open about your life and what you desire. And we're definitely going to check back in with you because I want to know how that's going. And I thank you guys, most importantly, for tuning in to another episode of Across Generations. Thank you so much. Weigh in with comments. Hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think about this conversation. And we will see you back here again very soon.